People have always searched for evidence of divine manifestations, and although we will never receive official statements from the heavens, as the saying goes, "He who has ears, let him hear." And those with imagination and a keen eye can interpret the signs around us, from cloud formations to shapes in stone or wood. You are on the Top Facts channel, and we have gathered for you 20 stories about appearances of Jesus Christ in the most unexpected places that were accidentally caught on camera. Although people don't like to mention his name in vain, but since all our videos are on one topic, please forgive me for this. Join us, and let's start an exciting watch. What people captured on camera, in photos, or described in words can be questioned, but when an unusual phenomenon happens live, it is pointless to deny it. Most often, technical glitches occur during recordings, or unplanned guests enter the frame. However, this incident stands out among others as truly extraordinary. Imagine if you were reporting the news, and suddenly the tranquil forest behind you began to shine like the Star of Bethlehem. The camera lingered on the peaceful landscape, but the operator could no longer take the camera away from the bright, shimmering light. It gently floated in the air and transformed. At first, it seemed like a large lens was reflecting, but the play of light continued for a long time. Viewers from their homes also watched in amazement as the ethereal glow spread on the screen. Although the light did not seem ominous or aggressive, on the contrary, its presence was both calming and confusing. Usually, people immediately suspect that this behavior is that of a UFO, but in this case, hypotheses among believers emerged. They called the glowing phenomenon an angel. It is quite strange that a heavenly being decided to take part in a television broadcast. But as we know, the ways of divine providence are inscrutable, and people can feel the mood. In this case, nature manifested a benevolent presence. Have you ever wondered how angels travel between heaven and earth? This question has been raised by humanity for centuries, although no single answer has been found. Nevertheless, there is a delightful concept known as the Angelic canon, which offers us an explanation of this divine mystery. No, of course, this is not a special canon that serves as a heavenly catapult. The Angelic canon refers to a beam of light in which an angel travels. The speed of light, as we know, has not yet been surpassed, and therefore angels can move as fast as they want, remaining unnoticed by human eyes. It is logical to assume that they do not want to be seen, and therefore either surround themselves with dazzling light or simply move very quickly, performing their heavenly duties on earth. So even divine beings need caution. Perhaps the news reporters were just witnessing the arrival of an angel. What do you think? Do not hesitate to comment on the video. Let's discuss everything. An angel is not necessarily a fluffy figure with wings. In the small American town of Camden South in the state of South Carolina, an extraordinary spectacle appeared before the eyes of ordinary people. High in the sky, a formation manifested unlike any cloud that had floated here before. Its outlines and colors were so striking that it seemed as if it was intentionally created, and the shape resembled a winged angel. The phenomenon captivated everyone who was lucky enough to see it against the backdrop of the clear blue sky. This sight, apart from its unnatural beauty, conveyed a sense of peace and grace. It was so clear, as if sculpted by an invisible hand. A realist suggested that the angelic shape could have been given by the trails of a passing airplane. I think this opinion was quickly overshadowed by supporters of divine phenomena. Few want to be disappointed by the words, "Miracles do not happen." What would you do? Agree to think that this is a mirage or accept it on faith? Sometimes the heavens want to clearly convey something to us and draw specific outlines in the sky. You have probably heard that in South America there are many very devout Christians. And if something grand happens in terms of divine phenomena, few doubt these messages. People willingly accept good signs as direct communication. In the bustling Argentine city of San Salvador, a woman named Monica received an unexpected blessing from above. Looking at the clear blue sky, she could not believe her eyes. Right in front of her was a supernatural cloud. It so resembled the figure of Jesus that it moved her to tears. Monica grabbed her phone and filmed the phenomenon. Deep down, she felt that this was more than just a cloud. She sensed a reminder in it that God always watches over his children. When Monica shared the image online, the photo quickly gained popularity, enchanting people around the world. Some noted the resemblance between the cloud and the iconic statue of Christ that guards Rio de Janeiro. Perhaps, not only for Monica but for many others, this photo served as a source of comfort and inspiration. After all, it is pleasant to know that you are cared for by the forces you believe in. In the picturesque coastal town of Italy, a man named Alfredo captured a moment of divine beauty. At sunset, a heavenly phenomenon very reminiscent of the statue of Christ appeared over the sea. The sun's rays cast a glowing shadow on the entire cloud, and it looked like a figure with outstretched arms walking on the sea. The supernatural likeness of Jesus Christ hypnotized the witness, and he decided to photograph it, feeling an irresistible desire to share this delight with others. Many who commented on the photo on social media also noted its striking resemblance to the iconic statue of the Savior in Rio de Janeiro. However, upon closer inspection, keen observers noted that the figure in the clouds seemed to be wearing something like a crown on its head. Or maybe it was a crown of thorns? Nevertheless, such clouds are not seen every day, and even if you do not associate its outlines with a specific figure, it is still a divinely beautiful sight. Now let's see how similar cloud figures travel around the world. Once in a small town in Indonesia, residents broke away from their routine to stand and watch the sky. What made them drop everything? There stood a cloud in the sky. It stood because it was also a vertical figure, resembling the silhouette of Christ. The news quickly spread throughout the area. People ran out onto the streets to not miss the wonderful phenomenon. Social networks were soon filled with amazing photos and videos. Everyone wanted to share their amazement with friends around the world. The sun's rays cast an unreal light on the cloud formation, and from this, it seemed to radiate a feeling of reverence. Even if there are few Christians among Indonesians, everyone felt a divine intervention in their daily lives. Perhaps such clouds are easier to form over the ocean if you want some explanations. That is why the cloud Jesus appeared not in his country. Let's move next door. We have already talked about the Philippines. It is a very unusual place. A Filipino woman, a video blogger, intended to shoot her hometown, and she had no idea that she might witness something unusual. When the sun peeked out from behind the clouds, it illuminated a tall structure in the sky that also had a supernatural resemblance to the figure of Jesus. It feels like there is a certain pattern in nature, cloud Jesus. So similar are several phenomena in different parts of the planet. This special sight was hidden from view by cloudy weather, and if it were not for the last rays before sunset, even the camera would not have captured the cloud Christ. The image was so clear and amazingly detailed that nothing needed to be added. The blogger immediately shared the material obtained so that other people could also appreciate its beauty and be inspired. I must say, it is indeed impressive and certainly not a fake, because nature cannot be faked. Now let's move on to material evidence. They can appear in the form of images on the most surprising mediums. In the arid desert of Israel, a group of archaeologists from the University of Haifa made a revolutionary discovery that will shed new light on the early days of Christianity. The specialists had no idea that their excavations would lead to an extraordinary find. Despite the fact that the Holy Land is the birthplace of Christianity, early Christian art has not stood the test of time. There are not many testimonies and artifacts in the region. However, when the archaeologists discovered the remains of an ancient village, they stumbled upon a sample of wall painting that miraculously survived through the centuries. The image adorned the ceiling of a baptismal font, which was built around 350 years AD in the Negev desert. After restoring the painting, historians were sure that before them was none other than an image of Christ. It must be said that his portrait was noticeably different from the traditional image that has taken root in our consciousness. Instead of long, loose hair and a beard, the painting showed a man with short, curly hair, an elongated face, and a long nose. This unique testimony provided us with a rare opportunity to look into the beginning of our era and understand how early Christians visualized the Savior. Natural material can also serve as a divine canvas. After a devastating landslide that hit the town of Putumayo in Colombia in 2015, residents faced chaos and hardships. Many homes were destroyed, lives were turned upside down, and the once familiar landscape changed forever. But among the rubble and debris, the locals noticed something unusual. The layer of earth that slid down revealed a strange picture. It seemed that the forces of nature created a sculpture that was a spitting image of the portrait of Jesus Christ. Rumors of the incredible sight quickly spread throughout the community, and soon hundreds of people began to flock to the landslide to see the divine face. It is amazing when such a work of art is made only of layers of soil. It is clear that the human imagination tends to complete any portrait, but in this case, it is completely symmetrical on both sides and needs no explanation as to whom it depicts. After all, you also guessed immediately. This is how a landslide created a new icon. A morning walk can bring you a grand discovery. Here is the story. A resident of Virginia named Shale loved to choose new routes for her runs. And one morning, she was running along a trail near Blackwater Creek, close to Liberty University. On the way, the woman noticed a large rock, and approaching closer, she discovered incredible outlines on it. The rocks protruded from the rocky wall in the shape of a panel. It felt like someone had engraved the image of Jesus in the rock. Shale was so moved by this discovery that she decided to share it with others. She recorded a video on her phone and maximally zoomed in on the image. As she later told local news channels during her morning walks, she loved to listen to spiritual music. As we can see, if you praise it out on the way, you can find a reward. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the world was grappling with fear and uncertainty, a small town in Colombia found itself at the center of an exceptional incident. The country was under strict quarantine, but the town's residents noticed very strange changes. The branches of a tall tree had miraculously transformed into the image of Jesus Christ, crucified on the cross. Their shape completely repeated the outlines, and the bark's color resembled the depiction of a pale figure. Soon, skepticism gave way to amazement, and despite the government's order to stay home, hundreds of people could not resist the attraction of this miracle. They flocked to the site like pilgrims, hoping to find solace and to pray for those whose lives were taken by the virus. They brought candles and offerings, but the sign disappeared after a few days. The tree became ordinary, and the picture seemed to dissolve. No one tried to explain this phenomenon, probably not wanting to find a material reason, because in such dramatic moments of life, a miracle is exactly what everyone needs. In the quiet countryside of Ohio, there is a plant that processes soybeans. In 1986, it became famous across the country in a matter of days, but not because of its hard work. Among the locals, it was reported that an image of Christ appeared on one of the new storage tanks for soybean oil. In the era before social media, only television could turn a rumor into a sensation, but this time, the information spread among people like wildfire. Sufferers from all over the world rushed here to witness the miracle. In fact, the magical phenomenon occurred after sunset, when the pink rays of the sun and then the moon illuminated the tank. A glowing warm light silhouette of Jesus in a robe, accompanied by a small child, unmistakably emerged. Hundreds of people gathered on the grass to watch the night show, and soon traffic jams stretched for several miles along the highway. Those wishing to at least catch a glimpse of the miracle at sunset never ceased. But none of them seemed to ask why the Son of God decided to appear on an industrial soybean oil tank. Maybe they just could not decipher this message. In the field of religion, mystifications often occurred, as this is a good way to influence the congregation. However, in our time, there is no great need for this because people come to faith voluntarily and consciously. Although miracles have not stopped. What would you feel if you saw a weeping statue of the Virgin Mary? The most mysterious thing is that such incidents happened in various places, separated by time and distance, but they invariably left an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of those who witnessed them. In a small church in New Mexico, a statue of the Virgin Mary, known as Our Lady of Guadalupe, unexpectedly wept, with her tears resembling liquid oil. It turned out that the substance actually consisted of a mixture of olive oil and perfume. It was the oil for holy anointing used in the Catholic Church. Rumors of the weeping statue phenomenon spread throughout the area, and the church became a magnet for believers from different walks of life. They flocked here for blessings. Meanwhile, many witnesses reported feeling a sense of deep peace and spiritual connection in the presence of the weeping Mary. Yes, it seems the power of faith in the face of the unexplained increases miraculously. Meanwhile, in another Mexican town of El Canal, tears were also seen flowing down the face of a statue of the Virgin, and moreover, her eyes seemed to be red. Local residents interpreted those tears as a sign of divine intervention, a call for peace in a society that led a life full of violence and unrest. I have come to the impression that most unexplained phenomena occur precisely in Mexico. Now we will talk about paranormal events. The Santo Cristo de la Capilla Chapel in Mexico became famous for an extraordinary event from the realm of the fantastic. This video recording in June 2016 shocked the whole world. The statue of Jesus opened its eyes literally for a few seconds. Can you believe it? The witness did not notice this at the time of filming. Only upon reviewing the recording later did he nearly faint from shock. To assess the authenticity of the video, 20 experts were invited, and none found traces of graphics or editing. The town went into a frenzy. The video gained views on the internet, and a self-proclaimed paranormal expert named Ivan Escamilla claimed it was authentic. Church officials reacted to the video as a provocation and refused to support the proponents of the miracle that occurred. Be that as it may, there is something inexplicably intriguing about this plot that makes you watch it over and over again. If we assume that this is how we are pointed to the beginning of the end times, then it can be deciphered this way. When the devil can take hold of the minds of even believers, the world is destined to soon plunge into darkness. This mystery from 1992, archives of paranormal phenomena have been preserved, but to this day, experts have not explained the mysterious incident that took place in the pre-computer era. As you know, during religious ceremonies, various mishaps occurred. Something could go wrong or fall. As we have already learned, inanimate objects can show signs of life. Statues cry or open their eyes. In this plot, something more frightening happened. A statue of Jesus, lying in a tomb, is itself a lifeless object. However, what happened next defies explanation and sends shivers down the spine. The camera zoomed in, and suddenly, the head of the statue began to smoothly rise. This was confirmed by the person who shot the video. He saw it himself. There were no illusions. Naturally, many tried to debunk the movement as a hoax or a carefully thought-out prank, but no one could give a satisfactory explanation for the eerie movements of the statue. As a result, it was concluded that it was either indeed a paranormal phenomenon, where some supernatural forces challenge the laws of nature, or the work of an experienced animatronic specialist. Let me remind you that the technology needed to create such a convincing special effect would be far beyond the available methods in 1992. A camera can see more than our eyes, and some supernatural things seem to work specifically for the camera. This happened in 1993 in the Bulgarian capital, Sofia. Not so long ago, the Iron Curtain had fallen, and after the collapse of the Soviet Union, fraternal socialist Bulgaria was going through tough times. An American Christian mission headed to Sofia to conduct services in cathedrals, and during the ceremony, a woman from the congregation cried out that she saw a figure of a man standing next to her who looked like Jesus. You ask, what is so special about that? Some believers can be so impressed by church singing, but the thing is, this woman was blind from birth. The congregation was stunned. The service continued with renewed vigor, and everyone thanked God for the extraordinary vision. However, the real surprise happened later when the American missionaries reviewed the footage they had recorded for their report. They watched the video already in America, and there, quite clearly, in front of the crowd, stood a tall man with long hair and a beard, dressed in white, strikingly similar to the traditional image of Jesus. For some reason, no one in the church saw him except the blind woman. How wonderfully he let his presence be known so as not to cause panic, but to be completely convincing. It is amazing how wise the divine forces are and how carefully they treat our psyche. I think this information helped the missionaries attract even more believers, since they had such indisputable evidence of the approval of their activities. Divine forces can penetrate everywhere and affect all our senses. Would you like to hear the real voice of Jesus? Although we may never know its exact sound, one significant event suggests that his words can still reach us. On the 11th of September, 1999, something extraordinary happened. During a large religious event in New York, hundreds of believers from all over the world gathered. Right in the middle of the Mass in the church, at the moment when the priest, Father Gerard, lifted the chalice for consecration, something incredible happened. His voice suddenly changed its timbre. It became deep and powerful to such an extent that it caused shivers in the congregation. They felt that the next words were spoken by someone else. And this happened twice during the prayer. He also proclaimed, "My body will be given to you." This had a stunning effect on the audience. Everyone believed they were witnessing the true manifestation of Christ, who spoke to them through the priest. It seemed as if he momentarily occupied his body to deliver a powerful message of faith and reverence. The atmosphere in the church was electrified with energy, and people's emotions were a mixture of shock and deep devotion. Agree, in such moments it becomes frightening. There is another story with the appearance of the figure of Jesus in the clouds. This time, it was not just a cloud, but a whole rescue mission. Yes, there is a photograph that supposedly depicts Jesus Christ. He appeared in the sky before a distressed airplane. The photo was taken by a passenger during a turbulent flight in a storm, and it became a symbol of hope and faith for many who fear flying. At some point, the plane shook violently, and fear gripped the passengers. Among the general panic, one elderly lady sitting by the window stood out. Her head was bowed in prayer. Soon, people from neighboring seats joined her, and gradually prayers filled the entire cabin. Soon, the turbulence subsided, although the storm was still raging. But it seemed that through their collective efforts, they managed to overcome fear and despair and find miraculous salvation. Later, when the passenger developed the photographs of the stormy sky, it turned out that the true scale of the miracle was revealed only there. Among the darkness and lightning, in the sky stood the unmistakable figure of a man in a white robe, whose hair flowed in the wind, and whose face radiated calm and compassion. It seems that the lady who started praying first saw him and understood that the figure appeared before them for a reason. On the 15th of April, 2019, The world watched in horror as the cultural catastrophe of the century unfolded. The precious Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris was engulfed in flames. This fire caused enormous damage to the historical heritage of civilization and left people around the world with a sense of loss and despair. After the destruction, restoration work began, and then, upon entering, the workers noticed something remarkable. Among the charred ruins, the altar and cross, miraculously, remained intact. This sight shocked everyone, and many took it as a sign of divine intervention. As soon as the information began to penetrate the networks, a woman named Leslie Rowan provided her proof of divine presence. At that moment, she was near Notre Dame de Paris, and in the footage she took during the fire, a figure of Jesus Christ appeared right in the flames, seemingly addressing people with sadness and compassion. Leslie's revelation sparked a wave of intense discussion. Skeptics attributed the image to a play of light or visual illusion, but many were convinced that Jesus revealed his presence to comfort Parisians in this sorrowful moment. In memory of the tragic events of September 11th in New York, an unusual memorial was erected. Two powerful beams of light soared into the sky, repeating the silhouettes of the destroyed Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. The memorial has since served as a memory of those who died on that fateful day and a comfort to the huge number of people who lost loved ones. On the anniversary of the tragedy, a man stood on the shore of the Hudson Bay, and his camera was pointed at the beams of light. He wanted to shoot a memorial video. Suddenly, he noticed something at the top of the beams. On one of them, it seemed, a bright figure stood right in the night air. This defied explanation, but the silhouette resembled Christ. It seemed to hover above the river, as if conveying a sign of blessing. The image quickly spread on social networks and resonated in the hearts of people around the world. It is impossible to express the grief of such a scale, but it turns out there is a way to find a sense of peace even after a terrible disaster. If the relatives of those who died in it felt even for a moment that they were not alone in their grief, then we all should believe in miracles. This is how our release turned out. If you liked it and want to see the next part, something similar, then write about it in the comments like, subscribe to Top Facts. And right now, I recommend you continue watching and check out one of our previous videos.